Hi, this is Carl from Linguagenesis. This is the fourth and final part of the discussion on the Rosetta Stone course. If you've seen the previous three parts, then you'll know that I've decided to actually begin to study a little bit of Swedish as a new language and as part of forming a background to this series. I've recommended the Rosetta Stone course as one of the best marketed language products which is made available to potential modern foreign language learners. I've said it's very popular in the United States. I've commented on the positive aspects of its linguistic structure, the implementation of the words, the word categories, the vocabulary in a range of different contexts. I've spoken about how you as learners are given the opportunity to constantly revise and integrate the elements of vocabulary, the isolated words which you've learnt by applying them in different sentences and in a range, as I say, of different contexts. I've spoken about the different methodologies, the different techniques which are made available to you as learners and which are purported by the Rosetta Stone series. And I've also mentioned which of those four exercise types within each of the skills area I think is the best. In other words, the one which incorporates as many of the areas of reading, writing, speaking and listening into one particular learning activity, or as I say, methodology or technique. And what we can do, as I mentioned in part 3, is to actually engineer ourselves as learners in order to actually speak the language, because with the Rosetta Stone you're hearing the language being spoken, but because you're receiving what is spoken by a third party, then that means that you're listening instead. But through repetition, then you're able to speak, and in speaking you're able to get used to the pronunciation and adopt a relevant intonation, or one which is as relevant and as accurate as you might wish it to be. You can then look back, you can read the words, and then you can give consideration to the rules of pronunciation which govern a particular language. And then where the Rosetta Stone course is concerned, you can look at the pictorial associations, as I mentioned in part 3. That is one area in which the Rosetta Stone course has actually gone a little bit further than many other language learning products, in that it encourages to actually associate sounds with words and words with external environment images, in other words, the concrete nouns which we have around us. Now, I might have said it in another YouTube video, but while as a teacher I'm rather varied and I'm rather open-minded where language learning techniques are concerned, as a learner of languages, as a hyperpolyglot, I have to say that I am rather uniform in the type of approach which I would prefer to adopt. Now, in terms of what the Rosetta course enables you to do, both in terms of picking up language and getting to grips with the sentence structures, then I have to say that the Rosetta Stone course works extremely well. But as other linguists, especially here on YouTube, have pointed out, it doesn't give you the type of sentences or types of conversation lines which you would expect to need to use in order to be able to actually engage with native speakers. So let's say, for example, talking about yourself. As far as I'm aware, this Rosetta Stone course doesn't tell you how to say "my name is," or ask "where do you live," or say "do you like Spain?" What do you like about the Spanish food and the Spanish culture and so forth. It doesn't use that as an initial point of departure, but what I think we need to bear in mind is that the Rosetta Stone course does not use this as its primary intention. It's simply another approach to teaching a different methodology. And once you've got used to this methodology, which the Rosetta Stone course is actually offering to us as potential modern foreign language learners, then slowly but surely we can think to ourselves, now we have the vocabulary and now we have the understanding of the linguistic structures which we've heard, we've seen written down, and we've actually associated with pictorial associations, we can actually evolve as learners and think to ourselves, this is the vocabulary which we have now, or which I have now, and this is now the vocabulary which I can use to actually construct my own sentences and work out how examples of such phrases are said, rather than actually just going away and consulting a phrase book and just learning parrot fashion and not giving any consideration to pronunciation, to intonation, and what the individual words within a sentence, a question or statement actually mean. And these are arguably pitfalls which we might fall into as language learners. So it is important for us to bear in mind that the Rosetta Stone course is actually just giving us something which is it's just a different methodology which enables us to pick up the language in an effective manner without feeling the pressures of actually following any particular structure, at least one which is similar to something we might find in a GCSE course or an evening course. So it does give us a methodology, and it does enable us to pick up the language and, on a rather subconscious level, get accustomed to the way in which sentences are constructed, and also the pronunciation, the intonation, and the written forms of any particular modern foreign language. Now, what I'm going to do to conclude this video is just tell you about my first lesson of Swedish, which I've had. I've only now currently done lesson 1 of Unit 1. I've done no more, unless I did look at the numbers from 1 to 10. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you what I've been able to remember from lesson 1 of Unit 1, and I have to say I'm at a particular advantage because I cannot resist this temptation now, having done that first lesson, to actually link it to the Dutch word order and also to the German word order, but obviously I know that the rules of pronunciation are different. I can't remember how to spell all of the words necessarily, but here we go. A boy, een pojke, a girl, een sweetka, a dog, een hond, a cat, een kat. The word for and is och, spelled O-C-H, so a cat and a dog. Een kat of een hond. A man is een man or een man. A woman is een kvinna, which actually looks like queen and sounds a bit like the English word queen, and kvinna. And then we have the prepositions on, under, and in. On is po, spelled P-A with a circle over it. In is E, a letter I on its own, the vowel I on its own. And under is actually spelt the same way as in English, pronounced I think something along the lines of under. A car is een bil. An aeroplane was et vliegplan. A ball was een bal, spelled B-O-L-L. So a ball on a boy, as one of the picture shows, is een bal for een pojke, and a boy under a ball is een pojke under een bal. Again, I might be losing the intonation a little bit, and perhaps to a slight degree the pronunciation, but as I say, I'm trying to focus on the visualization of the written words and get the pronunciation back from there. A table was, I think, et bord, E-T-T for A, and then table, B-O-R-D. As I say, in is he. A girl in a car, therefore, een flicka, een bil, something along the lines of that. So you can see, I'm actually engineering my ability to remember through a conscious awareness that I am a visual learner, and I'm actually trying to be relaxed about the Swedish language, adopt appropriate intonation and pronunciation, but also trying to reassure myself that I can remember how things are spelt, because as a visual learner I'm using sometimes the written language as the point of departure from which to extract the accurate pronunciation, but also the fluidity as well, relating also, as I've just mentioned, the fact that the word order seems to be similar in Dutch and German. So that's me and Rosetta Stone and the advantages of the Rosetta Stone course.